mine already.
Okay.
You can say what you want.
It's recording now. Wonderful.
Cool.
So over to you, Sheela.
Thank you. Well, welcome everybody. It's so lovely to see so many faces this evening for me, and wherever you happen to be, morning, afternoon, middle of the night, I don't know where you all are, but it's fantastic. So just to let you know that you're on the right call, this is breaking free of the known. I nearly said the unknown. Breaking free of the known, beyond our cutting edge into deeper realms of the three principles with Dr. Jack Pransky. And so my name's Sheela Masand, and we've got Katja Symons. We're the organisers of this preview taster to the retreat that's going to be held over here in sunny Spain at the beginning of May. And so we wanted to provide a forum, a meeting place for people to come along and explore that topic with Jack. And any questions that you have about this topic, because interestingly, when Jack first proposed the topic, I got completely the wrong end of the stick, and I wonder if other people would too. So when he talked about cutting edge, I thought he meant something that you were really good at, that sliced straight through. You hear that people talk about their cutting edge, and I thought he meant that, and he was like, no, it's more the opposite of that. And I was like, so I was all ears then. So we kind of wanted to explore this and explain exactly what Jack means, apart from what we've written on the page. I mean, the written word, we can read into it whatever we want, so it's different to hear it from Jack. And also, Jack loves to get questions. He's at his best, he tells me. He likes to keep it fresh. So we're really, really encouraging you to ask questions. And it also makes my job much, much easier. So ask loads of questions. And Jack's, yeah, because that's what he loves to do. So anybody that's here, and I could make the assumption that nobody knows who Jack is, but I'm not going to do that right now. I'm just going to quickly say that, Jack's had over 20 years experience in teaching and sharing the principles. His specialty in recent years has been the health of the helper. So he's really been helping people who help people with the three principle understanding. And we put on the page for this this call lots of reasons why we feel Jack's our biggest selling point, if you like, for the retreat, and we're hoping that will filter through, and I might actually ask him to prove some of those points to us this evening. I might do, and I might not do, depending on questions. So really what I want to do is just hand it over to Jack, and he can kick us off with whatever he's got to say, and then from there we'll take questions.
Well, it's really good to be here. It's nice to see everybody. I really wish you were with me this morning when I was out, took a cross-country ski. We've had more snow this year in Vermont than ever before since I've been around here. And one of the things that I like to do if I'm cross-country skiing in the woods, talking to myself, that I can't imagine that I'm going to be able to say anything remotely that good right now. So you should have been there. That's all I can say. So, but I was reflecting on the idea of cutting edge and what that, and the limitations of what we know. I mean, isn't that an amazing idea, a notion that what we know is a limitation? Like, for example, here most of us are in houses right now. We have a roof over our heads. We get a sense of security from having a roof over our heads. Our shelter needs, in terms of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, are met. And we look up right now and we see a ceiling. And that's what we know. And the ceiling is a limitation to seeing the sky. But we don't realize that because we know that we're all set, you know, feeling nice and sheltered and everything, and we're seeing this, what we know, the ceiling. But there's so much more out there. And that's my point. It's like the principles, what we know about the principles, you could really put in a thimble compared to everything there is to know about the principles. And one of the things that's interesting to me is every once in a while, you talk about the principles to people, and people will say, yeah, I know that stuff. I've heard that. You know, I've heard that already. And yet their lives are a mess or they're not as happy as they could be in life. And yet they know, they've heard this stuff. Whatever they know is a limitation to what they could know. In fact, I mentioned Maslow's hierarchy of needs before. And, you know, so at the bottom of those needs, you have food, clothing, and shelter. And at the top, what most of us have heard about, when we have heard about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, anybody who's studied psychology or heard about it through popular psychology or anything like that, is that at the top of Maslow's hierarchy is self-actualization. That's what we've heard. So that's what we know about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. But it turns out that in Maslow's last years of his life, he came to a different conclusion about what was at the top of the pyramid of his hierarchy of needs. And those of us who know that self-actualization is at the top of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs have inadvertently limited our understanding of what is at the top, really at the top of his hierarchy of needs. And what's at the top of his hierarchy of needs really is self-transcendence. But if we know it's self-actualization, we can't relate to self-transcendence. So what we know, which we love what we know, we absolutely love what we know, but it's a limitation on what there is out there that could be known. And when you stop and think about what we know about thought, what we know about consciousness, what we know about mind, it's teensy. Now, what Sheela was saying about cutting edge, it's like, as I said in what I wrote, I don't know if people have seen what I wrote or not about this, but we all know that the three principles are really at the cutting edge of humanity's understanding about how our lives are created, how our experience of life is created. And it's just a wonderful thing for humanity to be opened to the possibility of the new about the three principles creating our lives. And most people, well, you know, I've just been trying to pull together this history of the three principles. And so Don Donovan is writing the foreword for it, and I just got it from him. And he made a statement. For those of you who don't know, Don Donovan is kind of the coordinator or the head power that be, so to speak, of the Three Principles Global Community. So he was estimating that there may be like hundreds of thousands of people, and he said perhaps millions of people who right now have heard about the Three Principles. But when you stop and think about what that is compared to everybody in the world, it's like teensy, minuscule. I mean, it sounds like a lot of people, especially when back 20 years ago, you know, if we cracked 1,000, it would have been amazing. Well, 10,000 anyway. You know, and now hundreds of thousands of people knowing the principles. But so those people who don't know about the Three Principles yet, like their cutting edge, you could say, would be like if they, what they don't know about the Three Principles is their cutting edge. We, each of us, have a cutting edge of what we know compared to what we don't know about the Three Principles. And that cutting edge is like every time we bump up against something in life that is difficult for us, and we aren't able to put it in perspective, and suddenly we see reality out there that is making us feel a certain way, we are bumping into our own cutting edge of understanding. It's like there's something that we don't see. That's our cutting edge. And also, when we think about all of the things that we could know, that we don't know, especially about mind, but even about consciousness and even about thought. Like a lot of people I've seen recently think of consciousness as awareness. That's how people learn about the Three Principles. I would say that's a tiny little bit of what consciousness is about. So, and yet if we know that it's awareness, we're going to be stuck with the ceiling of what our knowing is about consciousness and awareness. So what it really comes down to is the purpose of this seminar that we're going to have over the weekend, or whether it's a seminar, or whether it's a training, or whether it's a retreat, whatever it's called, it amounts to 2 days of people coming together, and we're limiting the numbers because we want this to be deep. And the whole idea is to go beyond what we know, deeper than we've ever gone before, into understanding these things. And seeing a combination of what we bump up against in life and looking to those realms beyond our current understanding. So that's about all I can think of to say. I was better in the woods this morning.
Should put a few of us in your pocket then. So my initial question, Jack, is having listened to what you've just said, what would what would somebody who came along to the retreat walk away with?
Seeing beyond what they know.
Mm-hmm.
Just a deeper understanding than we, and I include myself in this, than we've ever seen before about what the three principles are, you know, the nature of them, and what we can see about them for our own lives. So it's kind of that double-edged thing.
So if somebody had a specific topic, because what came to one of my is it I suppose I was thinking in terms of my blind spot, if you like. Could that be it? So for example, I often think one of my many blind spots is health. So if I wanted to explore my cutting edge around health, so that would be something I'm not saying about my health. And obviously I've got teachers between Katja and Mick themselves, you know, I've done their training, but as an example, would that be something that somebody could explore on the weekend?
Absolutely.
Okay, I just wanted to.
So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because people can bring whatever they believe their blind spots are, and we could explore them further. But it's a tricky thing about blind spots, because for every blind spot we think we have, there's another one that we don't know about. So, but other people could tell us what they are, you know. So that's one possibility of what can happen during that weekend, is people can bring the things that they bump up against in life, and we will see them deeper and hopefully see through them. Or see more about them than we've ever seen before.
Sheela, we actually do have a question.
Good.
You want to go for questions?
Great.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, then I'm gonna unmute Sebastian. Where is he? Here he is. You're unmuted now, Sebastian.
Yep. Hi, Jack.
Hi. You're upside down.
I'm upside down, I know. One question. So, when you were talking about the cutting edge that we all have, I thought of a situation when I talked to a guy and I told him about the principles, and he told me, yeah, I know it. Yeah, this sounds right. But in the end, I knew that he didn't really get it, or didn't really got it. But sometimes I see that people who are kind of, when they are looking for something, they're like a bit weak or so, they are more open to listen to what we have to say. But people who think like, yeah, I already know this, or like, I already have like the cutting edge, then it's harder to connect with them in a way. And now my question is, when someone is really sure that he's like at the cutting edge and he thinks like, yeah, I know everything, how do you connect with this person? Like, because I think when I just say, yeah, you don't know shit, it's probably not the best thing to say.
Well, I bet you haven't said that when you're upside down. That's a great question. You know, and you know, the answer I have is deeper listening, because which means I would have to ask that person questions, like, so you know, this is just what's coming to me off the top of my head right now, and the person isn't there, so whoa. Some snow a ton of snow just flying off my roof. That's amazing. I hope my dog wasn't under it that time. So what occurred to me before the snow came off my roof was, you know, to find out from that person how they're living their life, what their life is like. Are they totally satisfied with their life? Are they happy about it? I mean, is there anything in their life that they feel could be improved? And if there is, that means they have a limitation of seeing. And they don't know, people have a hard time seeing their own limitations because it's what they know. It's just like I was talking about before, looking up and there's the ceiling. Well, yeah. But what are they running up against in life? And how come? Why is it that everything that they're saying that they know here is not totally helping them with this? So there's something being missed. And I need to keep asking, those kinds of questions and listening deeply and more deeply and more deeply until I see a way to get under their radar, so to speak. Does that make sense?
Sounds very simple, and so I think it's probably the way, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, without actually talking to the person. And by the way, let me take this opportunity to segue into a plug for another training that I'm doing. That Mick, who's online here, I'm doing another training in Spain, which I'm also very excited about. I'm more excited about these two trainings than in Greece. In Greece, in June, or is it July? Yeah, the end of June. That where we're bringing together people who work with others, and the idea is, how can we be even more successful in dealing with other people one-on-one than we are right now? And how do we break through things like that you're talking about right now? So that's another thing that we're going to be doing, not at this particular one that we're talking about now, but at the end of June in Greece. So be looking forward to that too. And by the way, both of these things, the reason we're calling them retreats is because they're both in these beautiful, beautiful places. And in fact, let me put in another plug right now, because if people want to combine the retreat with a little holiday, these are beautiful places to do it, on the Mediterranean coast in Spain and on the coast of Greece. And at the same time, if people wanted to spend a few days earlier in Spain, Mark Jones, also known to many people as Yoga Mark, is having me be on a little 3-day trek with him, where we're going to be, and we're not staying overnight, because I probably wouldn't do it if we were spending overnight in the mountains. But each of 3 days we're going to be hiking or trekking in the mountains around Spain, and we're going to be also talking informally about the principles. And so, and that's 4 days before this cutting edge, or whatever we call it, training that is happening, that we're talking about today. And in between those 2 days, I'm going to be on the beach. So
living life.
Yes.
Cool.
Probably needing some massages there.
Yes, probably very true.
Are there any more questions, Katja?
Not at the moment.
No? Okay. Oh, you mean people, you're leaving it all to me.
Katja, you can feel free to jump in.
Okay. I was just reading through some of the bullet points that we put down, Jack. So just to take it to the real practical aspect of people, I suppose, seeing what they don't see, really was what you're pointing to. It's like we know what we know and we don't know what we don't know. On a practical level, how do you see that as being helpful for people?
Well, I'll use an example in my own life. I'm trying to buy a house in Florida, a condo in Florida. And an amazing thing happened. I had asked the sellers through the real estate agent to hold, if it was all right if I put a deposit down, would they hold the place until I got down to see it? And they said yes. So I sent the deposit down and I booked a flight, flew down to Florida. And when I got there, I found out that we're on property. I said, number one, what did I send money to? And number two, why did I come down here? If you weren't going to hold this for me. So as it turns out, they gave the place to somebody else. I don't think that was illegal, but I thought it was really unethical. And I got quite upset. Now, while I was upset, I couldn't see beyond my upset. It was like they did something wrong. That's why I was upset. That's what I knew at the time. Now, if I stayed in that kind of knowing that they were the culprits, they were the reason that I was so upset, then I would never be able to see beyond seeing how it was my own thinking about what happened that was causing me to give up my well-being at that time. So as long as I had that knowing, I was stuck. And so we can extrapolate to that to everything in life. No matter what we know, we can see more. We can see deeper. And when we see deeper, like as soon as I saw deeper, and the next thought that came to me was, oh, well, I guess it wasn't meant to be. Now, I don't know whether that's true or not, but as soon as I had that thought, I was in a state of well-being again. If I kept knowing the other thing, I would have been left there. So that's an example of how it opens up new worlds. Going beyond what we know opens up new worlds. So we can see what we haven't seen before.
Okay. I've got another question here, and Sebastian is unmuted once more, and then Ima has raised her hand, so she's the next up.
Hey again. Actually, it's two questions, but I will just put the first one out. So the first one's about relationships. So I will give you an example. Okay, today I was chatting with my girlfriend, and I realized that I made a mistake, which I thought was no mistake. Like I didn't tell her something, and the thing was immediately when I wrote her, I was sure that I did something wrong, or that I knew that she will feel now sad, that she will now like feel negative because of me, and this is like the worst thing ever. And when you talked about not knowing, I realized that in the end I didn't really know that she was sad, or that it was me that made her feel negative. And now, like, the thing is that sometimes we are in a relationship and we think we know the other person and we know how the other person will react, but we don't know shit. Oh, shit again, sorry. So, yeah, my question is, I don't have really a question, but I just wanted to, to ask, how does this relate to not knowing when we are in relationships with people we know for a longer time?
Well, we say to ourselves what we know about the other person. And that can be a limiting thing as well. You know, as soon as we say, well, this woman or this man is like this, we have limited the possibilities for ourselves in relationship with them. You know, if we say they're messy, so we walk into a room and we see messy, we're not seeing the rest of that person at that time. So what we know, messy, is limiting possibly 90% more of the other of the person. And so this is what we do innocently all the time. Place limitations on relationships because of the limited way we see our partner in that moment. Mm-hmm. Shall we jump to the other person and then come back to you with your other question?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
I want to mute you then, Sebastian. It sort of raises the question in me while I'm looking for the button here. Is there anything we can know? Is there really anything we can know? But
about what?
About
anything.
You know, because
I mean, is there anything? Yes, there are things that we can know, but when we are talking about the world of formless energy, what can we know about formless energy? You know, before energy was seen, people knew that there was things like tables and chairs and things like that. But until people got beyond what they knew about that and actually saw through an electron microscope that there's a chair isn't even a solid thing. It's mostly empty space. And it's so hard for us to wrap our heads around that, but we know the chair is solid, and it limits us from seeing the formless energy that is holding it all together, and that is holding everything in life together. And that we're just a little tiny part of this whole universal energy that is, that as a tiny little part of it, we know everything that there is to know about it, because we are it, but we just don't know that we know it. And what we do know about it is limiting to what we don't know about it.
Yes, well, it's one of those paradoxes, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
You want to understand it, and then once you do understand it, you've packed it into a limited belief.
That's exactly right.
So it's just, the trick is really just to keep staying open to seeing more. And
yeah,
in a way simpler, because there's, in the world of form, there is endless possibilities. But in the formless, there's just one.
Yes. And what can we understand more about that one? See, it's to me, it's fun to go there. And not only fun, it's enlightening to go there. And if we truly understood it, all of the things in this life that in this form, that we think are important, wouldn't be. That's deep. And if you see that, what do you need to know about thought, really? Thought can only get in our way of seeing that, because thought is what we know. We don't even know thought. We know thoughts. And we know what our understanding is of thought. But, like the noetic sciences are finding that thought actually can change the shape of matter. I mean, come on. What we know about thought, teensy. A lot of people who begin to understand thought about, in terms of the three principles, I've discovered, don't even see it as true creation. We're talking about creation here of our lives. We are using this incredible gift of the power of thought to create our lives moment to moment. And that is, if we truly see beyond what we know and see true creation, we get into realms of, boy, talk about that being helpful in life. If we truly saw creation, yeah.
Anyway, I'm going to unmute Ima now. Ima, you're on.
Okay, thanks. Hi, Jack. Lovely to meet you.
Hello.
There was just a couple of things that tie in with what you're saying there about thought. So we're often told that it's just an illusion. anyway, so why would you even believe your thoughts? But sometimes that can be a bit difficult because they just feel so real, you know. So how do you see past that? Because whenever you are calm and clear, you can see that it is just an illusion and everyone has separate realities and things, but when you're caught up in it, it feels very real.
It sure does. It seemed very real to me when I was just talking about that situation with myself. And
Yeah.
Florida.
Yeah.
But here, to me, here's what's amazing about that. Thought is not a standalone principle. There's a reason that it feels so real and doesn't look like illusion. And that's because consciousness is doing its job perfectly. Consciousness is like the great trickster of the universe. And no matter what we think and what we believe with other thought, consciousness is going to make it reality to us. We are going to see reality with quotes around it, you know. No matter what we think, we are seeing reality.
But it's our reality, so it gets separate from someone else's.
That's very true, but it sure looks real because consciousness is making it look real. Thought without consciousness would just go flying up into the universe, would make no difference to us whatsoever. But combined with consciousness, that's what gets us. That's what hooks us, because we can't deny the reality of it. That's what we know. Unless we're able to take a step back from that and see beyond what we know, that if that's all that consciousness is doing, and it's doing it continually, that's where we would be able to see illusion. You know, like without seeing that, it's really tough to see illusion and to dismiss our thinking as illusion.
Yeah. And similar, you know, I'm sure everyone has had situations to your own example, and myself recently, and like intellectually you can say yes, the feeling of annoyance or frustration is coming from your thinking, but you know, at the same time it's like you wouldn't be having them thoughts if that person hadn't have done that to you.
But see, that's the trap. To say that to ourselves, which of course is something that we know at the time, that's the trap. Because we say, by saying that, we're saying to ourselves, it's still the outside world.
Yeah.
And it's never the outside world. With the emphasis on never. See, people can say to themselves, yeah, it's not the outside world. I know it's not the outside world. I know it's my thinking, but we still get hooked by our thinking. Why? Because even though we're saying it's not the outside world, we're saying, well, there's an exception here, and this is it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's really what I did with the house thing at the time. I was seeing an exception. There are no exceptions. There's never any exceptions. And whenever we think there's an exception, that's when we get hooked into the reality of it.
That was great, thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you. Anything else out there?
So at the moment, there's no questions, no raised.
Oh, but
I thought Sebastian had something to come back to.
Oh yes, you did.
Mm-hmm.
Just unmute Sebastian once more. Unmuted.
Yep. Wonderful. So this question is more to like open up the space. Okay. So I was watching the TV news the last 7 days, and what I see is that there's a lot of struggle between powers who want to win territory, whatever, or just get something.
mm-hmm.
And my question is, like, I want to help change it. Like, I ask myself, how can I reach people who are so, like, lost in their battle for power, or who just do really mean things? Like, right now it feels like easy to talk to people who are already looking forward to it, but to reach other people who are kind of lost in their in a really deep way, if you get it.
So your question is what?
My question is that for me it feels really urgent to reach the people who are having a lot of impact on the world, who can like change a lot of systems, and how to get in contact. For example, if I want to speak to Barack Obama or to Vladimir Putin, whatever, how to reach them in a way. Probably it's I see that it's probably the thing with deep listening and asking questions to get into the world.
But here's the thing, Sebastian. You mentioned urgency. What would make you see it as urgency?
All the bad things happening in the world.
Okay. And how does urgency make you feel?
Not so well.
So you're allowing the outside world to give you an excuse not to be in well-being. You see what I mean? In other words, all those bad things are happening in the world. I don't deny it. But who are we? Who do we want to be in relationship to all those bad things happening in the world? If we first took care of ourselves by realizing that we're the ones who get to create whether we're in well-being or not, there would be more well-being in the world. You know what I'm saying? Like if we saw that for ourselves, there would be one more person with well-being in the world. And that well-being would then have a better chance of affecting the people around us. And the more that grows and the more it spreads, the more that the people who are causing those bad things to happen in the world are going to be affected. And it may not happen fast enough for us, but that's how real change happens, because we cannot change other people. I've said many times, the only way change happens is through new insight. Those leaders would have to have new insight. We can't make new insight happen in another person. And when people are on opposing sides, and they've dug in their heels with what they know, everything that we say to them is going to be filtered through what they know. So we can do whatever we feel like we should do to make the world a better place. But as soon as we give up our own well-being in doing it, we are keeping the world in a not so good place. And so you could try, you could try your hardest to get through to people like that. And without giving up your well-being, that would be a great thing, Because whether we give up our well-being or not, they're still going to do what they're going to do. So if I want to take the responsibility to try to help change others' minds, then I have to take the responsibility. Well, I don't have to. I mean, it would be wise for me to take the responsibility to keep my own well-being intact while I was doing it.
Sebastian, I've got sorry.
Sebastian, I have a question for you.
Give me that. That's what I was going to ask. Are you more in your well-being upside down? Was what came to...
Yes.
Okay, good. Happy to hear it.
Like a bat.
I'm getting used to him being like that. We're hanging out on this for a few times, doing some German stuff. But anyway, I got some more hands up here, so I'm going to unmute Virginia Di Giacomo or something Italian.
Oh, Virginia.
Like
Virginia's on.
Hi, yes, you said my name perfectly, Di Giacomo.
It's nice to meet you in person.
It's great to meet you. It's great to be here. So Jack knows I'm very new to the work. I've just been kind of following the talks online for the last week or so. And I have a question about trauma, when someone's experienced deep trauma. And I had a situation this morning, for example, where I was speaking to a young woman who's doing some process work, like 12-step process work, and which involves, going through a lot of that trauma. Mm-hmm. And, thinking about and causing a lot of stress and fear and anxiety, and like telling her, I didn't really say anything. I just more or less listened, but like that your thoughts are creating this anxiety, just didn't really seem. I guess my question is like how, yeah.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to say that to somebody.
No. Like even that I was thinking it felt wrong. But, in relation to the three principles, just, how do you be with someone that's, experiences deep trauma and is working through it? And
well, we're by that question, we're starting to get into the realm of what we're going to be doing in Greece.
I'm coming to Greece.
Post this workshop, but I guess let me just say something about it quickly.
Okay.
You mentioned being with somebody. You know, how are you going to be with somebody who's like that? Well, being with them without getting ourselves sucked into their lack of well-being is going to be very helpful for them anyway. So we just want to, it's almost like holding the light. And right now, that person thinks that the reason their life is a mess is because of what happened to them in the past.
Right.
Well, what we want to do is help them call that idea into question. Help them call their reality, which is what they know. They know right now that the past, all the trauma that they've suffered in the past, is what is making them feel the way they do in the present. That's what they know. Well, is that really true? That's what we have to help them see. Is that really true? That what happened in the past is the reason for them in the present to feel the way they do? Now, those who understand the three principles really see that people are only, wow, I just had more snow come off my roof. That's amazing. We are, like the past is over. It's gone. It's dead. It does not exist. And the only way that it can possibly exist is by us having thoughts about the past in the present. So the only reason, the only way that people can feel bad about the past is because of present thoughts about the past. It's never the past. So we would have to just be with them, listen, stay in our own health, listen to them really deeply until we saw what was getting in their way of them understanding that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we would know what to say to them. So that's general, but it's the gist.
Thanks.
But, you know, it's a funny thing that there are so many things, you know, not just the 12 steps, but there are so many things that keep people reliving the pain of the past. And you really have to question whether that's helpful.
Right.
Like what's helpful about it? To relive the pain of the past and keep ourselves in a low state. And we know that even though, like I said before, we can't make insights happen in anybody, even in ourselves, what we can do is know what state the mind, how am I going to say this? In what state of mind do insights have more of a chance of happening? More of an opportunity to bubble up from out of the blue? You know, in what state of mind? Well, we know that it's when the mind clears, when the mind is quiet, when the mind is calm. And isn't keeping ourselves in a low state by reliving the past, isn't that doing the exact opposite than what's going to help people have the best chance of getting new insights? But it's what those people know to do.
Right.
So in that sense, it's innocent. But it's another example of how what people know is limiting. I even heard, in fact, one of those books that I just sent you, it's in Prevention from the Inside Out. There's a wonderful interview in there with Kristen Manshine, who talks about the early days of AA and what Bill W. Thought about people reliving the past compared to what it is today.
Interesting.
It is very, very interesting, that interview there, because there's according to her, and she has studied this immensely, there's a tremendous difference between the way Bill W. originally conceptualized what it meant, what that step meant,
right,
about checking out your past, and what it has come to mean today. So what people know about it, what it means today, is apparently not what Bill W. meant. So it's real interesting.
Okay. I look forward to reading it.
Okay.
Thank
Great.
you.
Nice to meet you, Virginia.
Too.
Okay, so we got Lisa has raised her hand. Lisa, you're on.
Hi there. Sorry, my camera's not working. It's just decided tonight it's not playing. So
Okay.
you'll just have to hear me, but it's really nice to meet you all. And Jack, it's really lovely to see you. Have read your book. Somebody should have told us, and that's what's got me interested very much so in 3 principles, particularly for myself. Without getting into a long story, being a child in an environment which adults were not responsible, and growing up in an environment where the parents were relying on the child, said me, to help them cope with their addictions. As I've got older, I've forgiven them because I felt I had to, not to condone what they'd done, but for me to see that they were not in a very high sort of state of mind when they were doing what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
But as a mum now, and I've got 3 grown-up children who have health conditions, not of their doing, and me still being me, the parents still have these situations because they are still living in the past. Me as a person, I work with people and I help people who have had traumas in the past. Not to say I'm going to heal you, but to help them forgive the people who have done these traumas to them. Presently, I'm finding it quite testing that, especially with my mum, who still relies on me to help her get her medication. And I've done this since I was 9. I just feel I'm at a point where, you know what, come on, just, you know, give me a break. But me being me, because I love her and I want her to get better, she very much so lives in the past and continues to do so every day. And it's very hard to try and help someone when you're very emotionally attached, when you try and explain maybe like 3 principles and different things. They choose not to see it because they feel they've been done wrong by, and they need somebody to blame. So my mum will blame my dad, and my dad will blame so and so. And I just feel like saying, you know what, I've had enough of the 2 of you, just don't talk to me ever again. But I won't. So I've got a little bit of inner turmoil, shall I say, that I've forgiven them for things that they've done that happened to me when I was younger, and this started when I was 4. But I'm starting to feel a wee bit angry with them, and I don't want to feel anger. I don't. But not once have they ever said, sorry, it wasn't your fault. These things happened to you. because I've forgiven them because I thought they were in low level thinking when these things happened. I just didn't know any better. But I'm at a point now, do you know what?
Is there a question in here?
I want to say that to them. You know, and I'm finding it quite testing of my nature to still be honest, keep a smile on my face and say, they're there, it's okay, everything will be alright. I don't want to say that, but I do say it. So I'm sort of annoyed and conflicting with myself and how I operate on a daily basis. I'm stuck.
I'm a little not sure what your question is.
Basically, the question would be, and how to approach them.
How to approach them?
Yeah, just basically how to approach them and saying, I've had enough of your, in the nicest possible way, just to say to them, you know what, you know, open your eyes, waking up. You're nearly 70 and you're still going on about things when you were 30 and 40. It's like they've just not moved on. And I don't know how to tell them how to do it.
Okay, let me jump in with, first of all, I feel for you, okay? But you know, just like I said to Sebastian, and I'm not sure where that noise is happening. But what is important first is if we're going to be helpful to anybody, we don't want to give up our own well-being in the process, because then they're still miserable and so are we. So now you got two miserable people instead of just one. And that doesn't make any sense. So we want to maintain our own well-being. And how we can maintain our own well-being is by realizing that there's nothing that they can do and there's nothing that they can say that can affect our well-being, because that's all in the outside world. The only thing that can affect our well-being is our own thinking. And so that's a little humbling to know that it's coming from us instead of from them. Because it sure looks, you know, as I said to somebody else, it sure looks like it's coming from them. So that's one thing. We want to stay in our own well-being, stay in our own health. And it's not a question of how to approach them. It's a question of how we see them. Now, you said that you're able to see them with forgiveness in certain aspects, but yet you're still troubled by them, what they do in other aspects. Well, if you were to truly see innocence, then you would see them in such a way that how you would end up approaching them would kind of naturally fall into place. So you can't approach them from a different way than you see them. And this is for everybody, you know. We can't approach people in a different way than we see them. So what would make them be innocent? You know, they did all these horrible things when you were growing up. What would make them be innocent?
I think I've thought about it, and I think that my parents, they brought me into this world. They do have love for me, I do know that. I feel it. I don't hear it, but I feel it. And sometimes I feel sorry for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do feel sorry for them because they've not experienced things I've experienced. maybe not in riches, not in wealth, but in insight. And I'm thankful that I've had that, and I feel sorry that they don't have that.
Well, in those moments that you feel love for them, naturally, those are the moments that you can approach them.
Yeah.
Why are they innocent? Because they don't know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What did they grow up with?
Yeah.
I don't want you to answer that now, but what they were doing the very best they could,
Yeah.
given the way that they see it. That's innocence.
Mm-hmm.
Total innocence.
Yeah.
And when we can see other people with total innocence, we know how to approach them naturally. They're going to feel that from us. And that's the only way to really get those defenses to come down.
Mm-hmm.
But they might not. I mean, they may be so caught up in their world that they see that they're not able to see beyond it enough to get better or treat you better or anything like that. But we don't have any control over that.
Mm-hmm.
All we can do is take care of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We can do our best with them, but if we're not taking care of ourselves and our own health and well-being, then we've given ourselves up to their craziness. And that's not helpful or wise.
Yeah, I totally get that, because presently I'm attending hospital because I have neglected my own health, and it's sinking in now. It really is sinking in. And but you just do what you do. You think you're doing the right thing by looking after them first, and then looking after yourself second. And as a mum, I've got 3 kids who attend hospital, so then they were put first, then the parents were second, then I was third. But now that everybody's doing better, I'm actually doing worse. And I've learned a big lesson.
Yeah. Well, thanks for bringing that up. And,
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. I've lost all track of time, Sheela or Katja. How are we doing?
Yeah, so did I. I thought we were on 1.5 hours, but I think we were only on for an hour, so we are way over time. I'm gonna unmute Sheela now. Sheela, you're unmuted.
Thank you, Katja. Yeah, I just messaged Katja and said, I think we're supposed to have finished by now. But here we are, over delivering.
I enjoyed myself so much.
No, me too. But I was just thinking about Jack as well. And
time was flying.
Thanks for saving me.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I mean, thank you, Jack. Just as always, real practical, straight to the point. Sharing. Don't want to say advice. Sharing. And I scribbled down my golden nugget for today, and that was we can't approach people in a different way from the way we see them. I found that really, for me, that impacted me personally. That was my golden nugget, and I guess it kind of it crosses over with what the topic was of today's meeting, and I suppose that's what we know. I mean, we know that person in the way we know them, and we don't know any, and we that's the limitation for us and that person. So that was really helpful for me. Thank you. So I just wanted to remind people about the retreat, the first weekend in May. I know we've had people sign up today. Anna Greta signed up today. Welcome, Anna Greta. Somebody else has messaged me. So we have 8 places left now. So 8 places, which is 8 places have gone and 8 places are left. So we have an early bird special to help you kind of make up your mind. And I think that's March the 6th, which I can't even remember whether that's Friday or Saturday. one of those days. So if you are thinking about it, it'd be a good idea to make up your mind before that day to get yourself a few euros off. And you know, I'm here, Katja's here to answer any questions that you've got. Just send us an email if there's anything you're not sure about. And people have asked me the question on several emails, so I just want to say that here. The hotel stay on the 2nd and the 3rd of May, 55 euros full board. And the rest of the time, if you wanted to make it into a holiday, which I really highly recommend because it will be really good weather then, either side of that, it's just 35 euros for full board status. And I can see Gillian in the background. Yeah, you're here for a long time, aren't you, Gillian? So yeah, so if you want to make it into a real proper long holiday for yourself, just drop me an email and we can sort all that out for you.
Not to mention sticking a trek in.
Not to mention the track. Well, there's only one place left on that, Jack. So yeah, that's nearly sold out.
Oh wow!
So yeah, not to mention Greece and all the other things going on, but don't want to overwhelm people with it all. So thank you for being with us this evening, and I'm really, really grateful for all your questions because you made my job easy. Thank you. It's been the moderator, kind of, the questioner, interviewer, whatever I was supposed to be. And thank you, Katja, for looking after the control panel tonight. Great. And we'll be sending the recording out very shortly if you wanted to re-listen to any of this. Look forward to seeing you all very, very soon again.
Great, and thanks to everybody for being there, and thanks for participating.
Yeah.
And really looking forward to this retreat. Hope to see you there. Okay.
Yeah. Take care.
Well,
good night, everybody.
I'm going to mute everybody now so we can do a bit of a wave goodbye.
Shout out. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Take care.
Bye. Take care.
Thank you, Sheela.
I love you.
Katja.
Thank you, Jack.
Thank you, Jack.
Mm-hmm.